Hello, my name is Tim Callgreen, Director of Civic Education at the Indiana Bar Foundation. And today we have with us two mock trial advisors, and we're going to have a casual conversation about mock trial. Joining the conversation is Alison Skertic from Merrillville High School in Merrillville and Corbin Mathias from Fishers High School in Fishers. We're going to learn from them the ways you can bring mock trial to your school and what to do when leading a mock trial program. We all recognize this, there isn't just one way to do this, so we're going to learn from them some additional perspectives. So let's start with this. Can you guys introduce yourselves? What do you teach? How long have you been a mock trial advisor? And why'd you choose to get into mock trial to begin with? Corbin, how about go first?
Hi, I'm Corbin Mathias, and I teach German at Fishers High School. So you'll notice not a social studies related content, but I used to also teach social studies, but the good news was the German program grew. But then that meant I missed that kind of connection I had with my social studies kids. And so I found mock trial to be a great way to connect with kids that way. I think civic education is very important, and mock trial is part of that. So I helped out for a year, and then last year I took over as the head coach for the first time. So just really 1, maybe 2 years experience for me.
Great. Alison?
Hi, I teach English and journalism at Merrillville, so also not social studies. I've been doing mock trial for 8 years. It kind of chose me. They had an emergency. The previous advisor had to quit for health reasons. They knew I wanted to have a club to advise, and I'd always had an interest in the law, so it seemed like a good fit.
Great. Great backgrounds, a nice variety of backgrounds there too. So thank you both for being here and participating in the conversation. And so everyone is aware we're recording this in July of 2020, meaning we're in the heart of the COVID-19 pandemic. So some of these questions and answers are going to change because of that. And so Alison and Corbin, I'd like to have you answer the questions assuming normal times, as we all look forward to the day that we can go back to normal. But if you have input on how this might be adapted due to the current circumstances, it might be nice to hear too. So let's start with this. The school year is starting and you've decided that you're leading the school's mock trial team. What do you do first and what's your first move? Alison?
Well, if it was my first year, the first thing I would do is go to the Bar Foundation and look over rules of competition. I think that really gives a good outline for how a trial runs. It's a little dense and it might take you a little bit, but once you read through it, you get a pretty good understanding. I would also try and reach out to some other advisors in my community because there's some things, it took me a while to figure out about the kids doing both sides of the case, for instance, and things that experienced advisors will be able to kind of give you a heads up. And lastly, look at some YouTube videos. There's a lot of places, videotape the trials. It'll help you visualize what's going on. Even if it's not exactly how we do it in Indiana, it still gives some good background.
I would agree with everything Alison said there. I did the same. It was very helpful in reaching out to other advisors in the area to help me gain a sense of what I need to be expecting, what I should be looking for in the kids and that type of thing. In terms of setting up the team, I think the biggest thing is getting out the word as soon as possible. Whenever club call-outs start, have those call-out meetings, informational meetings. I worked to have multiple tryouts. So if if a kid couldn't do it in the afternoon on Tuesday, maybe we could do it before school on Wednesday, that type of thing. But getting that out early, even though the season really doesn't begin until much later, if you can get that started in August, September, you can get those kids excited and interested. Because if you try starting up later, it might be, well, I'm already busy with XYZ club. And so that's another thing on my plate, whereas starting it right off the bat, it establishes that this is something going for the whole year and gets that on kids' radar.
Great. And sorry, Alison, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add, you reminded me, last few years I found it's really good. I've nabbed some debate kids and I make sure we practice different days from debate. It's similar skills and they seem to really excel at both things. So if you can maybe piggyback with your speech and debate teacher and try and recruit some kids that way, that's a good idea too.
Great points there. Corbin, what you said kind of made me think then too is, the case for mock trial here in Indiana doesn't get released typically until October. So what do you do in that time frame from the beginning of school until the case was released? Is it really just team gathering? Do you do lessons? What do you do in that first month or two of school, but before the cases comes out?
Right. So I luckily walked into a situation where I wasn't starting totally from scratch. And so, we had some students who had done it for a few years, previously. And so I leaned in on those kids as veterans, and they helped let them sort of take the lead and giving the newbies some sense of what are objections and what is the procedure, all those types of things that are going to come up in a courtroom. And for the witnesses, how do you look through a witness statement and find those elements of your character? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to present? And so just kind of working with a previous year's mock trial materials to kind of prep for that.
Yeah.
You can also find some mini mock trials online, which I use some of those. We run through different elements just with these little smaller cases, but the old cases are really good too. We spend some time doing acting skills too during that time. We do some improv. Our drama teacher helps us out with some things. So that can be a fun time I try and do it like one day acting, one day more legal stuff. So one day is more a fun day, team bonding kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes it fun. The acting part makes it fun for kids there too. So how do you teach mock trial? Is it part of your class? Is it an after school extracurricular? How does it work in your school, Allison?
For us, it's an extracurricular. We do have some law classes, but they're not particularly geared to mock trial. So usually we start with 2 days a week after school, and then we kind of elevate to 3 and sometimes 4 days towards the case coming. The problem we tend to have is we have the same kids want to be involved in everything. And that gets tricky. You try and work around their schedules, or you have kids who have to leave for work at 4 o'clock. So sometimes we meet in the morning, sometimes at lunch. I try and be a little flexible with it. But the worst thing is if the winter athlete wants to do it, that's the one I'm just kind of saying no to now because I haven't figured that one out yet.
It's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's also just an extracurricular. We do have a law class or law education class offered. And I know that they do a mock trial as part of that. But so, I'll sometimes discuss with that teacher if there's a kid that he notices that seems interested or something, we might say, hey, have you considered doing mock trial, that type of thing. But otherwise, it's about the same, just an extracurricular.
Great. So now that you got your team together, which students are going to be part of your mock trial team. What process do you use to assign roles as attorneys and witnesses and timers? And do you use tryouts? Do you let students self-select? How do you incorporate all your kids into the program then?
Do you want to start with this? You might have a better system than I do, Corbin.
I don't know. But so I have, once we've done the call out meeting and informational meeting, that type of thing, we will then have, the tryouts for everyone, whether you were on the team previously or not, using a previous case that hopefully no one has seen. I'll have the lawyers prepare statements. Witnesses should memorize just one of the roles and, be prepared to answer questions. And then that way, right off the bat at tryouts, it's clear. Do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be a witness? Or are you trying out for both? Does it not really matter for you? And then once we have those teams established, okay, I know I have X amount of lawyers, I have, these slots filled for witnesses. Then once the case comes out, I let the kids read through it, and then they look through and they give me a ranking. I ask for maybe 3, 4 of their ranking. I would like to be this character, and if I can't be that character, then I'll be this witness, and and that type of thing. And for the lawyers, do you see yourself doing more defense or prosecution? And then trying to balance all those things out. So you get at least something. Maybe it's not your first pick of what you want, but then I will go through and see what kind of seems to be a good match along with what their preferences are.
Yeah. And Allison, there's no one right way. Tell us your story. What do you do?
Well, honestly, up until 2 years ago, we only had enough people really for one team. and we'd have a couple of alternate people, but I did find the time when we first get the case, I usually take a week and we go through the case together and kind of go through pros and cons for each side, break them up into groups. And their commitment to that kind of shows me if they're really into it or not and how much they want to commit. Some of them just come for, you know, the first month for snacks and stuff. So once the work starts, then we see. And so I haven't had to make any tough decisions. Sometimes we'll have two students want the same role. So I'll do what Corbin does. They have to kind of memorize part of that role. Usually I let the team captains kind of decide if who should get who they think's the best fit for the role. One year I had our drama coach come in and he helped out deciding who would be a good fit. So yeah, I haven't had to do too many tryouts because our numbers are usually kind of right where we need them to be.
That works just well too.
I do think it's good to have alternates though, because my first couple of years, people dropped out right towards the end. So it was good to have people who were familiar with the case, who had sat in on the practices, because then they could fill in easier.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned too, Allison, was, you know, maybe having the drama teacher, you know, helping out at different points. So my follow-up question is, do you have legal advisors to come in and help you out, or do you have other teachers or non-attorneys come in to help you out? And how do you divide the responsibilities between teacher and other helpers?
Well, we have been really blessed the last few years to have two local attorneys who help out our team. So I kind of get the kids rolling on writing their directs and their crosses. The advisors come in and watch them run through things and give them hints. If we find certain objections we're having trouble with, we'll ask one of them to come in and say, can you know, we know there's a hearsay objection for this, but we can't figure out the right one. Can you look it over and come in and talk to us? Or if they can't come in, they'll just email me and say, tell them to try this, you know. So it's worked out really well. One of them's really good with theme, and he's really helped us do our theme and theory of the case the last few years and get a lot more advanced with that. So I try and do the basics with them and use the lawyers the best when they can come in.
I would agree with everything she just said there. It's very much organic as to what the kids need, whatever they need at the time. You know, I'll help with. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I can't answer all of the legal questions. You know, but it's as the teacher helping them stay track on making sure they're completing different components of it. Okay, well, you have your questions, your direct for this witness and cross for this, you know, this witness and that type of thing. Because once you have something right complete, then you can edit it, then you can make it better, you can improve it. Right. You know, you got something you can work with. And so again, helping them on some of the basics there. The legal advisors will come in and help however needed, especially with the lawyers, the student lawyers. But yeah, just keeping the kids on track and helping out where I can.
I found sometimes too, they won't believe me if I say, I think that's problematic, and they'll be, oh, I think it's fine. And then they have to wait and show it to the lawyer, because then they'll believe that it's, you know, that won't fly. So it's good to have backup.
Think back, here's what I'm going to ask you. Think back to your first year running mock trial at your school. What were your initial feelings about starting mock trial or taking over for a mock trial program? What were your concerns and how did they get overcome? Corbin, you're much sooner to your first year ago. Well, you know, what's your thought?
Well, so for me, again, I looked at it as, you know, I don't have a legal background. This looks like a lot of legalese to me. You know, I've never sat in on an actual trial before. And, you know, it's like, well, you're the advisor for this. You know, the kids are looking to you. And you're like, I don't want to look like an idiot. And because, you know, there can feel like there's so much that you don't know. But, you know, I just made clear with the kids and was very frank with them that, you know, this is my first year doing this. I'm learning with you. And I leaned on some of those seniors, some of those veterans the students who'd done that years previously to help out. I said, you know, so a younger student had a problem or a question. I was like, well, have you checked with this person? Or, you know, and then reaching out to the advisors, reaching out to others as you can. for any legal expertise. It helped them find those questions, help them find the answers to their questions, and just be as helpful as you can. And then once the season gets going, you'll quickly start picking it up, and you know, it comes with time. You'll get it more and more.
And I think it's important to keep your expectations realistic. I kind of got thrown in really late. I got thrown in like, I think it was December. So I was just flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't really have time to worry about too much. I was just trying to get through it. Had a kid quit, I think the week before. He had a family death and just couldn't do it. So we kind of went through everything. We finished dead last. We had to go against one of the top teams in the state in the regional competition. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot more to this than I thought. But you want to, I think, keep it fun for the kids. Don't get too stressed out, because when you get stressed out, they do. And they kind of grow. I think you made a good point. You kind of learn together and just make it fun for them.
Yep.
Yeah. Just kind of follow up with that then too. What do you wish somebody would have told you before you started? Like, what do you know now that you wish somebody had told you?
I think for me, it comes back all to that. It comes with time. You know, lean on those older students, those veteran students, to lead as you need. Ask if you don't know something. You know, and also, you know, trying to be flexible with the students, whether they're in other clubs or that type of thing. And also remembering that, hey, this is, you know, for me, I'd never really done an academic type team before. And, you know, it's like, sure, a 2 or 3 hour football practice, the kids are going to be, you know, exhausted by the end of it, but that's also true for your brain. So, you know, you don't want,
Yeah.
you know, you got to be responsive to what the kids' needs are, how they're practicing, what their motivation is, and reaching them where they are at.
And I do think one good thing is let the kids, the returning kids, I think Corbin made a great point, let them take some of the leadership too, because kids like to learn from other kids. They like, you know, let them lead some activities, let them pick some videos to show, and, you know, let them, you know, get them invested in what's going on. And I think it'll take some of the pressure off you, and it'll make it more fun for them, develop their leadership.
Great. Let me close with this last question here. What's your mock trial highlight? Why do you keep coming back to lead mock trial for your school?
I think for me it was, like I said, my first year we were dead last by a lot of points. Each year we inched up. By my fourth year, I had a great group of sophomores all joined at once. We finished third at regionals and got a wild card. And to see those kids grow, and each year they laugh because at state they finished 24th one year, then, or no, yeah, 24th, then 14th, and then their last year they were 7th. And to see all those kids grow, and you know, they became comfortable. Some of them got internships with the local lawyers. A couple got full scholarships. One's doing mock trial at IU. Just to see what it means to them. I was gonna quit when I got yearbook, but I can't even quit. So I'm figuring out how to do both.
I agree. I think it's the seeing those kids grow. I know this past year I took a chance on a student who was a freshman to be on the varsity team, and you know, she was very good with her prepared statements, but it was then seeing, you know, that transformation, that growth of being able to think on the fly, and the critical reasoning, and you know, you see these kids become sharp thinkers, whether they're the lawyers or the witnesses. And it was really cool when one of the other team's advisors asked me, is she a junior? And I probably said, no, she's a freshman. And so seeing that growth throughout the year, and seeing those kids again, just have fun and grow so much throughout the year is incredible.
Those are both great stories. Thank you both. It's been a great chat, great conversation, and so thank you both for participating today, and great points of view and learning from your experience. So, Allison and Corbin, thank you very much for taking your time and having this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.